In the ancient world, few cities were as powerful and influential as Rome. At the height of the Roman Empire, its rulers controlled vast territories stretching across Europe, North Africa, and parts of the Middle East. But Rome was not only known for its armies and politics, it was also famous for its spectacles. Roman citizens loved public entertainment. Massive arenas and amphitheaters were built across the empire to host dramatic events that attracted enormous crowds. Gladiator fights, animal hunts, and chariot races filled the calendar with excitement. These events were more than simple entertainment. They were also a way for Roman leaders to demonstrate power. When thousands of people gathered in an arena, they witnessed not only combat and competition, but also the authority of the empire itself. Among these spectacles, one type of event revealed a darker side of Roman society: public punishments. In ancient Rome, the justice system believed that punishment should be visible. Criminals were not always executed quietly in prisons. Instead, their fate could become a public display. For Roman authorities, this served an important purpose. It warned the population about the consequences of breaking the law. When people saw the punishment of criminals with their own eyes, the message became clear. The power of Rome was absolute. Sometimes these punishments were carried out in the same arenas used for entertainment. Large crowds would gather to watch gladiators fight, wild animals hunt, and other spectacles. During these events, condemned prisoners might also face their final judgment. This practice turned justice into something that looked almost like theater. For the spectators sitting in the stands, it was another dramatic moment in a day filled with excitement. But for the prisoners standing in the arena, the experience was terrifying. Roman society had strict laws that governed behavior. Citizens were expected to respect authority, maintain order, and obey the rules established by the state. When someone broke these rules, punishment could be severe. Men accused of crimes such as rebellion, treason, or murder might face execution in public. Women accused of certain crimes could also face harsh consequences, especially if their actions were believed to threaten family honor or social order. In Roman culture, family reputation was extremely important. Women were expected to follow strict social roles connected to marriage, family, and loyalty. When someone was accused of violating these expectations, the punishment could become part of a wider social lesson. Roman leaders believed that public justice reinforced traditional values. By showing the consequences of crime, they hoped to prevent others from committing similar acts. Yet these public punishments also attracted crowds who were curious to watch. People traveled from surrounding neighborhoods and towns to see major arena events. The excitement of the games, combined with the seriousness of Roman justice, created a powerful and sometimes disturbing atmosphere. The arena became a place where entertainment and punishment existed side by side. Roman writers and historians described these events in different ways. Some saw them as necessary to maintain order in a vast empire. Others quietly criticized the cruelty of turning punishment into spectacle. Even during ancient times, not everyone felt comfortable with the idea that human suffering could become part of public entertainment. Still, the tradition continued for centuries. As the Roman Empire expanded, more arenas were built across its territories. These structures became symbols of Roman culture and authority, and inside those massive stone walls, thousands of spectators watched events that combined excitement, drama, and the harsh reality of ancient justice. As the Roman Empire grew larger, public spectacles became an important part of life in many cities. These events were not only meant to entertain the population, but also to remind them of the power and authority of Rome. One of the most famous places for these spectacles was the massive amphitheater known as the Colosseum in the city of Rome. Built during the reign of Emperor Vespasian and completed under Emperor Titus, the Colosseum could hold tens of thousands of spectators. When events were held there, the atmosphere was intense and dramatic. Crowds filled the stone seats early in the morning. Vendors sold food and drinks while people waited for the day's spectacles to begin. The program often included many different kinds of performances. Gladiator battles were among the most famous events. Trained fighters entered the arena wearing armor and carrying weapons, battling each other in front of cheering crowds. Another popular spectacle was the animal hunt, known as exotic animals such as lions, leopards, and bears were brought from distant regions of the empire and released into the arena. But alongside these spectacles, another type of event sometimes took place: public executions. In Roman law, certain crimes were considered so serious that the punishment needed to be visible to everyone. Authorities believed that when people saw the consequences of crime with their own eyes, they would think twice before breaking the law. Because of this belief, condemned prisoners were sometimes brought into the arena during the games. This form of punishment was known in Latin as damnatio ad bestias, meaning condemnation to the beasts. In these cases, prisoners might be placed in the arena where dangerous animals had been released. The purpose was not only to carry out a sentence, but also to demonstrate the authority of Roman law. To the Roman government, the arena was a powerful stage. Thousands of spectators could witness the fate of those who had been judged guilty by the courts. For some people in the audience, these events were exciting and dramatic. For others, they were disturbing reminders of how harsh the Roman justice system could be. Historical sources suggest that the timing of these executions was carefully planned. Often they took place in the middle of the day, between the morning animal hunts and the afternoon gladiator fights. This part of the program sometimes involved condemned criminals, prisoners of war, or individuals accused of serious offenses against the state. Roman writers describe these scenes in different ways. Some praised them as examples of discipline and justice that helped maintain order in a vast empire. Others hinted that the crowd sometimes treated the events as if they were simply another form of entertainment. The reactions of the audience could vary widely. Some people watched silently. Others shouted, cheered, or called out for mercy. The arena itself created a powerful emotional atmosphere. The enormous walls of the amphitheater, the roar of the crowd, and the presence of soldiers and officials all reinforced the sense that Rome controlled everything happening inside. Women accused of crimes could also face public punishment in Roman society. However, Roman law often treated women differently depending on their social status. A woman from a powerful or wealthy family might face a private trial or punishment arranged by relatives. In contrast, individuals with lower social standing could face much harsher consequences. Roman society placed great importance on family honor and public reputation. If a woman was accused of actions that threatened social order, such as treason, serious crimes, or religious violations, the punishment could become very public. In some cases, historical records suggest that condemned women were also brought into arenas or public spaces as part of these punishments. These events served the same purpose as other executions: to demonstrate the authority of the Roman state. For the rulers of Rome, maintaining control over a massive empire required powerful symbols. The arena became one of those symbols. It showed that Roman law could reach anyone who challenged it. At the same time, the popularity of the games meant that thousands of people witnessed these events together, creating shared memories that reinforced the idea of Roman power. Yet even in ancient times, some thinkers questioned the morality of these spectacles. Philosophers and writers occasionally expressed discomfort with the idea that suffering could become a public performance. Their writings remind us that Roman society was complex. Not everyone agreed about the meaning of these events. Some saw them as necessary justice. Others saw them as a troubling form of entertainment. Life in the Roman Empire was guided by strict social rules. Every person had a place in society, and these roles were closely connected to family, status, and tradition. For women, these expectations were especially important. Roman culture placed great value on family honor and moral behavior. A woman was expected to represent the dignity of her household. Her actions were believed to reflect not only on herself, but also on her husband, her father, and her entire family. Because of this, accusations against women could quickly become serious matters. In Roman law, different crimes carried different punishments, and the treatment of a person often depended on their social class. Women from powerful or wealthy families were sometimes protected by their connections. Their cases might be handled privately, within the family or among high-ranking officials. But women from lower social classes often had far fewer protections. If they were accused of crimes such as theft, religious violations, or rebellion against authority, the punishment could be harsh and very public. One important factor in Roman society was the idea of public example. Roman leaders believed that when people witnessed the consequences of crime, they would be less likely to challenge the law. This belief influenced how punishments were carried out. In some cases, prisoners, including women, were brought into public spaces where large crowds gathered. These events could take place in arenas or amphitheaters, the same places where gladiator games and animal hunts entertain the population. The audience watching these spectacles sometimes saw punishments as another dramatic moment in the day's program. For Roman officials, however, the purpose was more serious. They wanted the crowd to remember what happened to those who broke the rules of society. This idea of public warning was deeply connected to Roman political power. The empire controlled enormous territories and millions of people. Maintaining order across such a vast region required strong symbols of authority. Public punishment became one of those symbols. When people saw that the state could judge and punish criminals openly, it reinforced the message that Roman law was powerful and unavoidable. But the lives of women in Roman society were more complex than these punishments alone might suggest. Many women played important roles within their families and communities. Wealthy Roman women often managed large households and could influence family decisions about business and politics. Some were known for their education and involvement in cultural life. Inscriptions, letters, and historical records show that women participated in religious ceremonies, supported charitable projects, and even helped shape local communities. Yet the strict expectations placed on them also meant that accusations against them could quickly damage their reputation. Once a rumor began to spread, it could travel quickly through Roman society. In crowded cities like Rome, news and gossip moved through markets, public baths, and gathering places where people shared stories about the latest events. When someone was accused of a crime, the story often grew larger as it passed from one person to another. This atmosphere of rumor and public curiosity sometimes drew large crowds when punishments were announced. People wanted to witness important events that demonstrated the authority of the empire. The arena, with its massive stone walls and thousands of spectators, became the perfect place for these dramatic moments. But not everyone approved of turning punishment into spectacle. Some Roman writers and thinkers questioned whether the crowds were becoming too comfortable with watching suffering. They worried that constant exposure to violence might change the way people viewed justice. These concerns reveal that Roman society was not united in its opinion about the games. While many citizens enjoyed the excitement of arena events, others believed that certain spectacles crossed a moral line. Despite these debates, the tradition of public spectacles continued for centuries. Emperors often sponsored games to celebrate military victories, political achievements, or important festivals. Providing entertainment for the population helped rulers gain popularity and strengthen their political position. In this environment, the arena became more than a place for sport. It was a stage where power, justice, and entertainment mixed together. For the spectators filling the seats, each event created a powerful experience that combined excitement with the reminder that Roman authority controlled every moment. As the Roman Empire reached its height, public spectacles became one of the most powerful tools used by rulers to maintain control over the population. Emperors understood that large crowds gathering in arenas could be influenced not only by excitement, but also by powerful messages about authority and order. The most famous of these arenas was the Colosseum in Rome. This enormous structure could hold tens of thousands of spectators. When games were held there, the noise of the crowd could be heard across the city. But these spectacles were not random events. They were carefully organized by the Roman government. Emperors often sponsored games to celebrate victories in war, mark important festivals, or gain popularity among the people. Providing entertainment helped strengthen the bond between the ruler and the citizens. For many Romans, attending the games was one of the most exciting parts of life in the city. The day usually began with animal hunts, known as vena. Hunters faced wild animals brought from distant parts of the empire. Lions from Africa, bears from northern forests, and even exotic creatures like elephants sometimes appeared in the arena. These hunts amazed the audience and demonstrated the vast reach of Roman power. After the hunts, another part of the spectacle sometimes took place. This period often involved the punishment of condemned prisoners. Roman authorities believed that combining justice with public spectacle reinforced the idea that the empire controlled both life and death. The presence of soldiers, officials, and the emperor himself made these events powerful displays of authority. People sitting in the audience could see clearly that Roman law was being enforced before their eyes. The arena itself was designed to make these moments dramatic. The curved walls created an enclosed space where thousands of voices echoed together. Every movement in the arena could be seen by the crowd. When a prisoner entered the arena, the entire audience focused on the scene below. Some spectators reacted with excitement, cheering loudly as the events unfolded. Others watched quietly, perhaps reflecting on the seriousness of what they were witnessing. Roman society had a complicated relationship with these spectacles. On one hand, The games provided excitement and a break from daily life. For citizens living in crowded cities, attending the arena was an opportunity to share a powerful experience with thousands of others. On the other hand, the events also served a clear political purpose. The emperor who organized the games appeared generous and powerful. By providing entertainment and demonstrating control, rulers strengthened their position in the eyes of the public. This strategy became known as bread and circuses. By distributing food and hosting spectacles, Roman leaders kept the population satisfied and distracted from political tensions. The arena was therefore more than a place of entertainment. It was a stage where the power of the empire was displayed again and again. Women accused of crimes could sometimes become part of these public punishments, particularly if they belonged to lower social classes or if their actions were considered serious threats to social order. However, it is important to remember that Roman law often treated individuals differently depending on their status. Members of powerful families could sometimes avoid public humiliation, while people without wealth or protection faced harsher consequences. These differences reveal another important truth about Roman society. Justice was not always equal. Power, reputation, and family influence often shaped how laws were applied. Despite the harshness of these punishments, debates about morality and cruelty continued to appear in Roman writings. Some philosophers believed that constant exposure to violence might weaken the moral character of the population. They worried that the crowd might begin to see suffering as ordinary entertainment rather than a serious matter of justice. These concerns show that Roman culture was full of contradictions. It produced remarkable achievements in law, architecture, and government. Yet it also allowed spectacles that modern audiences often find disturbing. Still, the arena remained one of the most powerful symbols of the Roman world. Inside its massive stone walls, the empire demonstrated its authority to thousands of spectators at once. Each event reminded the crowd that Rome's power was vast and unchallenged. But over time, attitudes toward these spectacles began to change. New religious ideas and shifting cultural values slowly started to question the morality of public executions and violent games.